Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and business owners. Now, on today's show, we're going to be discussing the implications for Brexit on your logistics, an important area of business for any organisation, particularly if you're importing and exporting particular products in and out of the UK. We needed a real expert on this, so joining me in the studio today is Serafina Valente. She's the founder and MD of Logist Compare. And lovely to have you with us today. Thank you very much for joining us. So here we are. Mm-hmm. We've don't go away on me. We've got Brexit just around the corner, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? What kind of state are we in at the moment when it comes to logistics in the UK? Are people stockpiling? Are people prepared? Is the logistics industry ready for this? Are those supply chains all out there? They're all finely tuned, finely honed and ready to whatever the outcome is? Yep. Or are we going to be in a bit of a mess?
Well, I mean, I would say at the moment, yes, as you say, we are still into a quite unstable situation with Brexit. We don't know if we're going for soft, hard Brexit or whatever Brexit we are going. But yes, I mean, what it shows at the moment, about 75% of companies, which big companies, say over 5,000 employees, they are actually prepared for Brexit. But the problems are actually with the smaller companies, where actually just 47% of these companies are prepared for that. So there is still a lot to be done on that.
So the smaller companies are the ones that need to address it. Why do you think they've found themselves in that position? Why haven't they prepared?
First of all, to be honest, there is a lot to be said about this government uncertainty, and they are still really not there for that. Not there ready to go ahead and decide what direction of things should be going. But there are things there which can be done and they should be done right now, in my mind. One area example, as we are moving forward very likely with Brexit, or soft or hard, doesn't matter, is impact on tariffs. So I think what's happening there, we need to make sure we do have some resources in place, and that comes in terms of import agent, consultant, or even an internal resource which knows how to navigate the tariffs and can sometimes reduce the tariff even to zero.
From what I understand, for a long time, already, right now even, something like 40% of our imports and exports anyway are using the appropriate paperwork that is outside of what is needed to go in and out of Europe. So we've got some of that expertise already here in the UK, but it seems that to a certain extent, we're just not sort of grabbing the bull by the horns, are we? For the other 60%.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, there is a lot to be done, especially when it comes, declarations. And from this point of view, what we are saying is that, until now, companies, what they were doing is just simply filling CMRs, which it will take just a few minutes. Even the
CMRs are customs. What's the CMR stand for?
CMR, it's a French word. Oh, don't tell me how to say.
Here we go.
I say transport document, which is required for trackers to move the goods to and from Europe. And at the moment, these are so simple to fill. Even the actual trackers can actually fill it. But moving into a situation, into a Brexit, they were talking about, start to fill transit forms. So these transit forms will be much more complicated and will very likely going to cause delays. Now, there is implication not just about the fact that it's, filling forms, it's, time consuming, but there could be implications in terms also financial cost. I mean, if you think about it, every declaration costs around about 15 to 55 pounds per declaration. We are estimated that the amount of declarations should exceed the quote of 1 billion declarations per year.
Who's going to make money out of that? Is it the government going to make money out of that? Is it independent companies who are going to make the money from these declarations? Who's it going to be? Where's the money going to be made? Who's going to be the millionaires at the end of all of this?
To be honest, I don't think the companies are going to make the money. I think companies are going to lose money. And it's a very good point, Steve. It's a very good point. At the moment, the way it looks like it's going to be a mega impact to the supply chain, because, as you know, what's happening at the moment, we are in a situation where customers are needing really higher services at lower cost. So what it means as well, that, they want the services to be provided and not pay for the extra mile, really. But what's happening when it comes to tariffs? Now, we are talking about extra cost, which will be coming on top of tariffs. I mean, I'll give you an example. In the automotive sector, especially in import tariffs, are forecasted to go up 2.7 billion and 1.8 billion on exports. So if you think the amount of extra cost which will come on top, how business are going to absorb this cost, because nowadays... But
ultimately, it's not just the businesses absorbing the cost, it's the customers as well, isn't it?
Well, that's where exactly where the issue is. Because maybe 10 years ago, deliveries were 2 to 3 days deliveries. And the exception was the next day. So any extra, say, premium service was well paid by the customer. So customers were happy to pay for extra cost, for a better service. Nowadays, what's happening is that they want higher services but don't want to pay too much for that. I mean, the statistics are showing that 54% will not pay for extra cost, even if we want better service.
Is that because we've been spoilt by some of the businesses that are out there now, the Amazons of the world, the Ocados and the people like that? Sure. That last mile is where the expense is, but yet they seem to deliver it for next to nothing.
Absolutely. That is absolutely spot on. And, 80% of the last mile cost, it comes from distribution cost. And can you imagine how much money need to be absorbed now by businesses? It's really a quite interesting situation. As you correctly say, yes, the Amazon of the world is the driver of all this, pretty much. Because, now, if you want to compete with, people like Amazon, companies like Amazon, you need to provide similar services. Otherwise, customers really, are moving out.
Let's talk a little bit about what you do as a business, your organisation, your company. Just tell us a little bit about that, because it seems to me it's all very well doing the last mile, but at the beginning of every last mile, there is a warehouse. And what's going to happen if people are stockpiling, if people are bringing pallets of maybe equipment or supplies in? Is that becoming an issue now because we don't have the capacity to put it anywhere?
Absolutely spot on. I mean, stockpiling is the hot topic of the moment. And why customers are stockpiling? They are stockpiling because they will need to have inventory there to buffer potential customs delays. So that is one major reason why people are really stockpiling. Now, how are we going to do? How are we going to manage this? I mean, at the moment, I think that there are solutions, optimal solutions, which can help clients to find warehouse space easily and cost effectively. And this is where marketplaces are coming in. This is where Logistic Compare, which is my company, is coming in. And what it does help clients to find warehouse space easily and cost effectively. And at the time, time is the essence at the moment for business to find space. As you rightly say, space at the moment is a premium. It's absolutely a premium. I do have at the moment customers looking for space, especially into the temperature controlled area. And it's pretty much impossible to find space. But, the issue is not just with temperature control business, the same thing applies for the automotive, for pharmaceutical businesses, where the government is actually requesting business to stockpile for urgent medication. Originally, they were asking to stockpile for just the first 2 weeks from the 29th of March, which was the first Brexit.
The first leave date, yes.
The first one. And now they're actually asking to stockpile for at least 6 months. But going back to my business, what we got there is a company which, connect directly customers, or when I say customers, business directly with provider. And also allow them to book and pay all through the portal. And that is an extremely big advantage because, if you think about it, there are other marketplaces out there, but some of them, there is, I would say, the additional third-party intervention. While with my business, what will happen? Customers are going straight to the provider, since pretty much from the inquire point already.
I mean, you didn't start the business. You didn't start the business because of Brexit. You started the business because you saw there was a need for connecting people who had stuff to store and places to store it, and the warehousing. And has this been a bonus? Has the Brexit thing been a bonus, or has it been a curse to you?
Well, if I to be honest, in some ways, it's been a bonus. Yeah, it's been a bonus because clearly the demand for space has increased, as we have already mentioned this earlier. Sorry. So, for us, as a company, definitely has been definitely a very good bonus. I mean, we do have more requests from clients for space. We are talking to providers all the time, and yes, absolutely, it's gold standard for me.
Well, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to work our way through. We've got some great questions that we're going to be looking at as well. We're going to be asking the question why companies are stockpiling and how warehousing marketplace can help them out as well. How Brexit tariffs can hit supply chain costs. And we've already kind of alluded to that already. What's the impact of the increased amount of customer declarations? Well, that's going to be a lot of work. Do we have the people to do it? Which industries are likely to be highly affected by Brexit? And I suppose probably most importantly for you as a business owner, what are the tips for you to prepare your logistics for Brexit if it ever happens? That's still to come. My guest on today's show is Serafina Levanti. She's the founder and MD of Logist Compare. And we've got more from her in just a few moments' time. Great to have your company as always. Here we are, we're live on a Monday, and good to know that you're out there. Thank you very much for all your comments on last week's program. In fact, that's what we're going to look at now. Last week we were talking about all the things that surround why you should be growing your business, and the way to do it is to be using video. We had Steve Mills on the program last week. It was an absolutely fantastic show that we did last week. I really enjoyed it. He's always good value for money, Steve Mills. If you're not signed up to one of his mailing lists or anything like that, I suggest find Steve Mills online, sign up, follow him on LinkedIn. He's not one of these guys that spams you. What he is a resource that is there to help. He's knowledgeable. He's a nice bloke as well, for that matter. But as I said, we were talking about how to grow your business using video as part of your marketing mix. Good show last week. It was all on Zoom or Skype is how we did it last week. He was in his Southampton office. Just to give us a bit of the highlights from last week's edition of the programme, here's Steve Mills on Business Connections Live. Now, on today's show, we're going to be discussing how video can massively grow your business. We've got a great guest with us as well. He's joining us from his offices on the South Coast in the studio, or actually remotely in his studio, is Steve Mills. Let's say hello to Steve. Hello, Steve. It's great to have you with us today on this edition of Business Connections Live.
Video is just the greatest medium that we've ever had in the history of marketing, I believe, and yet so many businesses, particularly small businesses I see right now, don't understand it or don't use it, and that's often because they either fear it, they don't understand the technology. We get some of them actually just don't like being on video, plain and simple. But my advice always is you've just got to get over that. You know, you've got to start using this fantastic medium. Would your business even exist in the future if you're not using video? And you know, I believe that it could be as powerful as that people who embrace and use video will be successful, and if you don't, you won't. In marketing, it's about test, test, and test. And we've tested sending out emails via Infusionsoft with video and without video. We've tested having landing pages on our website with video and without video. And roughly speaking, and it does vary, but I'd say our conversion rate is roughly double when we have video. I think the biggest problem that businesses face, particularly small businesses right now, is obscurity. Nobody's ever heard of us. You know, we're not an Apple or a Vodafone or something like that. And we all face this problem of being not known. People say to me often that, oh, we're really good at what we do, Steve, but you know, we're just not known. People don't know us in our industry, and we need help with that. And you know, that's the case, I think, Steve. I could go on a video and go, hi, my name's Steve Mills, and you know, I've got this list, and I'd love you to be on it because I'm going to provide you with great tips and ideas and ways in which you can grow your business. And I can do a video about that, but I can also do a sales video. So I could say, you know, I'm running this training course soon. You know, this is what I'm going to cover. This is, you know, here's all my content. You know, you really need to come if you're, you know, one of these types of people or these types of businesses, or I could run it, as you just suggested, as a way of positioning me as the go-to expert in my niche. Okay, so as a reminder, it's Steve Mills. My website is www.stevemills.co. Okay, so if you want to know more from me, then that's where to go. So my takeaway would be, I mean, my number one takeaway would be just do it. You know, I mean, if we haven't inspired you, then I'm not sure we ever will. And I really hope we have. You know, go and start producing videos. Get those videos produced. I strongly recommend that you get a professional video. Go and speak to Steve and the team here and get them to do a video for you. We're going to use that as your nucleus. You're then going to produce other videos. You could do testimonial videos from customers. You could use something like Camtasia, which is screen capture videos. You could do interviews like Steve and I are doing. Get somebody to interview you. You could do product demonstrations. You know, if you've got a new, you know, I've got here a cup. You know, if I could show people my new product here and how great it is on video, you know. So there's loads and loads of opportunities. But the third thing I'd say is then you've got to market the video. There's no point spending a load of time, money and effort producing a video and hoping that loads of people are going to come and look at it. You've got to get that video out there. That's really, really important. So just to finalize, if you want to know more from me, go to my website. If you need a new video, go and speak to Steve. I'm sure him and his team can help and advise and help you produce that. If you're really interested in growing your business, then I offer a service. It's called the Strategy Review. It's free. All we do is meet up. We can meet online, or we can meet over the phone, or you can meet at our office here in Portsmouth. We go through a series of questions, find out more about your business, and we'll see if we can help you in any way. So if you want that, that's totally free to any listeners of Business Connections Live. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed Steve and my conversation today.
Fantastic show there from Steve Mills. Really, really interesting. So you should really, truly be using video within your business to up your game. And if you're not, and you know what? Okay, we've got all the equipment here. We've got all the gear and no idea. We can do all of that. We've got all the kit. We've got all the cues. We've got loads of cameras. But if you want to, of course, you could get started simply by using your smartphone. Just remember a few of the fundamentals when it comes to using video. You know, what is your proposition? Why are you talking to people? What's your resolution? How are you going to help the people that you're talking to? How are you going to fix their pain? And then, of course, you've got the call to action. What do you want them to do? The trouble with so many videos that are online at the moment is there is no point to them, or they don't engage the audience. So, you know, think about what you're going to say. Content, structure and delivery, they're pretty important as well. So think about the message you're trying to get over. And one piece of advice is don't do linear storytelling. Once upon a time, Goldilocks was out for a walk. We're not interested. Goldilocks ate the porridge and she slept in Baby Bear's bed. That's the point you're trying to get over. So remember that when you tell your stories. Stand them on the head and sometimes start at the end. Tell them straight away the important points that you want to get over. Because if they're interested, they'll listen for longer. But if you start telling a linear story, they may lose interest and you'll lose them forever. By the way, if you want to come on a program like this one as well, this is a great way of getting your message out there. All you got to do is get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live. It's dead easy to do that. You can drop us an email if you wish to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. Better still, pick the phone up and let's have a bit of a chat, shall we? On 01784 256 777. You can also follow our stream of consciousness on Twitter at BCL Business TV. You can watch and comment on the program on our Facebook channel, and the best place to go for all the information, everything that you need to know, is to go to our website. Over 300 hours of great content there at businessconnectionslive.com. But please do get in touch with us. Go to the website, check it out. If you're enjoying today's program, do give a like on YouTube, say something nice about us on Facebook, or just tweet the program to your colleagues and your friends so that they know when to watch. You're watching Business Connections Live. Today we're discussing the implications of Brexit for your logistics. Joining me in the studio, Serafina Valenti. She's the founder and MD of Logist Compare. Is it Logist? How do you pronounce it?
Logist Compare.
Logist Compare. Needs a French accent, actually, doesn't it? Logist Compare.
Italian.
It does, or an Italian accent,
Italian
even better.
accent,
yes, indeed. So, so lovely to have you with us on the show today. We kind of talked around the topic at the beginning, and we kind of highlighted it. You see it that there are four individual, I hesitate using the word issues, but definitely four individual parts of where we are at the moment. Do you want to take us through those? Where should we start? Part one, what's that?
So the first one, which I put in my list, it's really the increased workforce shortage, which is at the moment, impacting the entire logistics industry, but in particular the warehousing and the transportation side. That's number one. Number two, it's customs. As you may have expected, with regardless if we are moving for a soft or hard Brexit, there will be some tariffs implication in particular. And also on top of it, there will be an increase of customs declarations and the implementation of transit permits to move the goods to and from Europe. Number three is, I would say, disruption of the supply chain processes of some particular industries, in particular the just-in-time industries, of which automotive is one of them. And the last one, of course, we just mentioned earlier, it's stockpiling. Stockpiling, which is in some ways, a consequence, I would say, of the concern for customs delays. And, yes, as I mentioned before, stockpiling is there because customers are really concerned about delays at customs, and therefore they need to have some inventory in case something like this happens. They want to make sure customers get the deliveries in a timely manner. This is what we're talking about, stockpiling.
All right, so let's work our way through those four topics individually. We showed a slide, and you alluded to it as well. The shortage of labour seems to be a bit of an issue when we're talking about the first part of all of this. So let's just have a look at the slide that we've got here. Just tell us what this slide is showing us.
Yes, what it does show is that between the first quarter 2016 and 2017, we had over 148,000 EU workers here in the UK, compared with the quarter 2017 and 2018, where we had just over 7,000 EU workers. So you can see there is a huge shortage in workforce in the logistics industry.
So is this changing, do you think? I mean, I noticed there as well, it says main sectors, logistics, food, IT, construction and transportation. Is that having a severe impact on actually the way the work is being done, on the people who are fulfilling the logistics function?
Oh, definitely it's going to have a huge impact. And the reason is simply because, and I should say not the reason, but I would say that the issue has become even more relevant because of the robotics and the automation that is actually now the key features of the modern warehouses.
I was going to say to you, the likes of Amazon, I mean, is it highly manual, or are there robots? I've been to warehouses for a large gas company, and they've got automatic pickers. The whole thing is automated. Basically you put an empty tray in this end, and the tray comes out the other end full with the bits and pieces. Amazon must be going that way as well.
Pretty much, yes. Sure.
So do we have a shortage, or do we need that number of people still in the industry?
Apart from the number of people, most important is the skilled operators that we need to have in place. As you are saying, you absolutely correctly say, yes, I mean, the number, as nowadays with the robotics and the automation, may don't need the same amount of people to actually manually do the job, but you still need a skilled operator there to make this machine working. And that is where one of the biggest issues is into the logistics industry. For 10 years, we have been relying on Eastern European workforce, and now we don't have that. We now need to find a way to bridge this talent, which we don't have.
So this is something that is happening right now. Regardless of the fact of what happens, whether we're in, out, or shake it all about, right now we are seeing a huge deficit in the number of people that are working in the logistics industry.
What I want to say is, to be fair, and we need to be here honest and say that, the workforce shortage existed even before Brexit, But the weakened pound and the Brexit, what is done, has actually aggravated the situation. That's what has done. And so now we are found ourselves in a way where we really need to find a way to bridge this talent. And that's where the government, I think, need to put their foot down. Because we need to start...
When you say put their foot down, to accelerate whatever they're going to do, or to say this is the way it's going to be?
No, they need to find solutions behind it, and they will probably come in terms of job protection schemes, but most important, it's more competitive salaries for warehouse workers. I mean, why I'm saying that? I mean, in northern France, example, a warehouse worker takes about 11.40 per hour, compared with £7.50 in the UK. So above the actual employer's contribution, about 49% versus 13.8 here. And the other thing, what we are seeing here in the UK, that we do have also quite an aging workforce. Only 9% here in the UK is below 24 years old.
I suppose the thing is, though, we're looking at different cultures. I always find it very interesting when we look at the catering industry. In America, if you go into the catering industry as a waitress or whatever, you will see that as a career. Over here, you see it as a part-time fill-in job. Nobody goes into the catering industry unless maybe you're a chef or you're in housekeeping or whatever as a career path. Yet in America they do, and I'm just wondering, is the same applying here to people who go into logistics, regardless of what level they're at? Maybe in France or countries like that, they see it as the beginning to a career path, whereas here we see it as just part-time work.
Yeah, in some respect, yes. But and I think there are, depending on which area of the logistics we are talking about. So in the warehousing sectors, yes, it's still, I think, seen like just a step up role that you're going to have, but you will stay always into the warehousing area. But what I'm trying to say with this, there is a potential here to become a career. In fact, I mean, there are a lot of schemes at the moment in terms of training out, which can help, people to move up with a career in the logistics sector.
I suppose the thing is, if you're a school leaver, what do you want to do when you leave school? I want to work in a warehouse. Sometimes maybe it's not at the top of the list, is it? No,
you're right. Absolutely, no, there is not. But there is, if the government also put in place better incentives, I think there will be more people coming into this industry as well.
Please don't be thinking that we're putting the job down. I just think it's very difficult because we've got the shortage. It'd be very interesting if you work in a warehouse and you have a view on this. Is it a good career? Is it a good job? Are you pleased that you're doing it? What level are you at as well? I mean, for instance, you've worked within the logistics industry for a long time, and I would imagine you get all sorts of people coming into the industry who are looking for different things in life, aren't they?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I started with logistics 20 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. But, logistics, it's a bit like Marmite. Either you love it or you hate it. And for me, it was love at first sight, really. That is simple as that. And it's such a dynamic way of working, and you see the beginning and the end of the entire supply chain process. You can see the goods moving from A to Z, and to me, they bring joy. And being able to see customers finally content with the deliveries. Maybe for some people, doesn't mean anything, but for me, it's got a big impact. Yeah.
All right, that's the first section that we're talking about. Let's move on to the next section on the chart. What's that? Just remind us again.
Yeah, the second part is about customs. So when we're talking about customs, we are talking about increase of customs declarations. At the moment, the forecast is to go up by factor 5 to 250 million declarations per year. So when we are talking about declarations, we're also talking about increases or disruption, I should say, in terms of financial disruption, because what we are saying is, it's not just a long, it's a long-winded process to have to fill up all these forms, but there is also cost associated with that. A customs declaration, they normally cost about, as I said before, between 15 to 55 pounds each. But there are other costs there, which include, having in place an import agent or a resource to actually, deal with these tariffs, set up payment processes in place, administration processes to keep records for at least 6 years, and set up deferment accounts, even if it's just one-off. But all this at the end, make quite an amount.
Is it? Could this be resolved relatively easily? I know if we were to stay in, that's one solution. That would be a good one. There are people that are saying that if we are to leave, if we are to leave, then what we could actually do is, with a no deal, the following day we could then say that, look, there's going to be free movement of products. You, the automotive industry, you're going to want free movement under the same kind of rule. You don't agree with this at all, do you? You don't think that could ever happen, no?
No, I don't think so. I don't really think in that way at all. I think that, Brexit is going to bring a serious disruption, and it's not easy just to say, well, either we go in this direction or the other, won't be a big problem. You just pointed out an industry which is very interesting, that is automotive sector. Automotive sector, regardless if you go for soft Brexit, hard Brexit, or whatever Brexit you're going for, is just not compatible at all with the supply chain process.
We've got to look, surely we've got to, and Nelly, my colours to the past, but surely what we've got to do is we've got to look at, we've got the German car industry is on the brink of recession anyway. You've got 67 million potential customers in the UK. You've got the fifth or sixth, depending on who you look at, largest economy in the world. Surely that's somebody that they want to sell to. And surely the German car industry will do everything it can to supply at a competitive price their vehicles. So hell or high water, I'm sure that the German Chancellor will be going, something needs to be done to make that work. And the same applies to, Italian cheeses and wines. The same applies to French wines and agriculture. Because everybody seems to be cutting their nose off to spite their faces.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, in the UK, seems like people do think that, implementation of a just Brexit would be easy peasy, especially talking about the automotive area. And normally, you think with the time, people just find a way to adapt. But what we don't see, it's the supply chain process of this particular industry.
But 40% currently, we are doing this anyway under WTO, aren't we? 40% of our imports and exports are under WTO. So we can do it 40%. It's the other 60%. Is it just not a case of ramping up what we do successfully now? I feel like I'm having a fight now. I'm just wondering.
Maybe not fight. I haven't fight with you right now, am I?
No, I'm just intrigued by it.
No, absolutely. To me, it's more. It's the fact that it's the supply chain process. What I want to say is the automotive. I'm talking about the automotive sector. It's a type of industry which you need to move the parts very quickly from suppliers to distribution.
The just-in-time principle.
The just-in-time, which is, in fact, is part of the just-in-time industry. So it's a type of industry which you need to tend to hold a very small inventory, very small amount of parts move from suppliers into distribution centers, and wherever there is an error, it needs to be sorted out now and then. So there is no room whatsoever for delays. I mean, Honda, they're stating that even 50 minutes delays can bring to the business over £850,000 extra cost. So I'm not sure how this can be in some way or another compatible. I cannot see that working.
Okay, all right. So that's section number 2. We're going to come back with, is there more to section 2?
No.
So section 3, we're going to go back. So we've done the first 2 sections, the workforce, the declarations that we need to do. We've got the 2 more sections to come that we talked about earlier on that we're going to work our way through. My guest on today's show is Serafina Valente. She's the founder and MD of Logist Compare. And a really interesting program today. And I think that's what makes the program so fascinating, is that here we are, it's different views, it's different points of view, and it's experts from their industry who come in and they explain to us exactly the things that maybe when we just watch the news, we just don't get, we don't understand, it isn't highlighted, and it could change our views, or it could change the way that we perceive the situation that we find ourselves in. More from Serafina in just a few moments' time here on this edition of Business Connections Live. Okay then, so how to prepare for a no-deal Brexit is what we're going to look at right now. It's all Brexit today. A no-deal Brexit means that any transition period would be off the table without a bilateral trade deal with the EU. Britain would be subject to WTO, that's the World Trade Organization rules. When it comes to UK exports, will face the same customs checks and tariffs as other countries outside of the EU. Linda Bazant joined me on this particular program where we were looking at no-deal Brexit. What should you be doing as a business to be preparing yourself with the key takeaways? Here's Linda Bazant.
I'm Linda Bazant. I'm a barrister and GDPR and post-Brexit consultant. And today we've been talking about exactly what you need to do within your business to prepare for leaving the EU. You need to stress test your existing plans. You need to impact assess all the areas within your business that may have a Brexit component. Look at contracts, licenses, certificates, check on employee status, double check on tax and VAT with HMRC, data protection. Remember that we become a third country after the 29th of March if we do indeed leave then. Look at your counterparties. Are they Brexit proof? The third parties that you deal with. You're looking at your Brexit contingencies. Are they looking at theirs? Customs duties, paperwork, that sort of thing. Contracts generally, go back to your lawyers, have a look at the right to terminate, how you amend. Is there frustration in the contract? What's going to happen to currencies? Should you change your currency from euro to, for example, the US dollar? These are all the sorts of things that you need to be doing right now to Brexit-proof your business.
Just amazing, actually. Obviously, work on a daily basis with Linda as well. The whole GDPR thing is all-consuming. Not GDPR, rather. The whole Brexit thing is all-consuming. The other thing that is all-consuming is GDPR. We were having a chat the other day. A number of organisations now, when you talk of GDPR, people think it's gone away. It's just moved on. It happened last year. It was brought in, and there haven't been any consequences or anything like that. What is interesting is at the moment that a number of organisations, small businesses, small SMEs, have been in fact fined. There was one story she was telling me that that the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office, have fined a number of small business operators, and people are saying, well, look, tell us who they are so that we're aware that they have been fined and so that we can make certain that they are now GDPR compliant. And the ICO have said that due to GDPR, they're not allowed to tell you who they are. Absolute madness, isn't it? I love it. Anyway, if you want to find out more about how you should be getting ready for Brexit when it comes to your company, contact Linda. If you want to find out more about how GDPR can still affect your company, here's a question for you that maybe you've forgotten. Check your insurances. Have your staff within your business been trained for GDPR? Have you trained them? If you haven't, check your insurance policy, because there is a possibility that your insurance policy will not cover you if you have a breach because you haven't trained your staff. Want to find out more about GDPR? Get in touch with us here. Give Linda a call. You can always contact her on our main office number. Let's see just how quick that can come up. Thank you. Well done. 01784 256 777. Have a word with Linda. If you're a little bit concerned about GDPR, perhaps you feel that you've implemented it within your organisation, that you are moving along in the right direction, but there's just a few things that you want to ask, give her a call. She's a lovely lady. She'll talk you through some of the key things. And if you need training within your business, then give her a call there, because she'll come in and she'll train your staff for you as well. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have your company as always. We're talking about the implications of Brexit for your logistics within your company. Joining me in the studio, Serafina Valentin, which means apparently Valente. What's the matter with me? Serafina Valente, which means angel.
So Serafina means angel, which is coming from Latin. Yes, the seraphims. And Valente means of value.
The valuable angel. And that's what you are with us today. We were talking just before the break, we talked a little about just in time, and also we were talking about custom regulations and how that's going to be hit if we have a no-deal Brexit. There's a nice slide here that sums all of that up. Just to remind you once again, we're looking at, just talk us through tariffs first of all then.
Yeah, in terms of tariffs, I mean, the tariffs can vary depending from the business. I mean, what we can see that there are particular sectors like cars and fashion where it can go up between 10 to 15%. And I mean, what we are expecting, as I mentioned earlier, to have a number of declarations to go up to factor 5, to $250 million declarations per year, which will cost business around 6.2 billion in terms of money spent on that. The other big issue, of course, is the transit permits, because the truckers now, they'll be required to use these transit permits. They may be able to use, of course, just the single permits, but they are quite limited. So the best way to deal with this is to apply to this European Conference of Ministers of Transport to get a multilateral permits, which allow them to do multiple trips to and from Europe. But even there is a limitation of 1,224 permits per year. But you need to watch the number because they can change any time, like everything else. So, yeah, that's from customs regulation.
That is 1,224 permits. Are you a half full or a half empty person? That's the question you've got to ask yourself about that. So, the customs regulations. All right, where do we move on to now? What's the next area that we should be talking about?
I think we should be talking about the disruption of some particular sectors, in particular the just-in-time. And when we're talking about the just-in-time, automotive is one of them.
You were just saying earlier on that that's a big issue, isn't it?
It's a big issue. It's absolutely.
So what other industries does that affect, the just-in-time kind of model?
Apart from the automotive, of course, the fashion industry. Fashion industry is a 10 billion industry worth of clothing and footwear. So having a 10%, they will going to be affected by an 11% increase in tariffs. So that would be a big hit. Going back to the automotive sector, the automotive sectors, talking about tariffs, we are talking 2.7 billions on imports, so import tariffs, and 1.8 billions in export tariffs. So both of them, as you can see, there is a huge disruption in terms of tariffs. But
that is for European manufacturers, isn't it? So the Japanese manufacturers are already paying that, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah,
yes.
So absolutely.
You see, the worry there, if I was a German, going on about cars again, aren't we? But if I was a German car manufacturer, I would be really worried because all of a sudden my cars are going to go up by how much?
Well, at least, I mean, we are talking about 7.2 billion on imports and 1.8 billion on exports.
Yes.
But for you and me, Steve, to buy a new car, you know how much it will cost? Over £1,500 more. At least. So,
it's going to be frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, it is going to be really, really, disruptive.
If I was the chairman of VW now, I'd be sitting there going, that's a worry.
I think we should be thinking the same as well.
Yeah.
That's what is my mind. But, I mean, the disruption doesn't stop there. The disruption, when we are talking about supply chain process, that's where it's not the only concern, but it's the other big concern. And that is because, the automotive sector is being just in time, tend to hold the very little inventory, and the little parts are moving from suppliers, which in the UK we're using about 2,500 suppliers to move these parts from suppliers to distribution centers. And if there are errors or problems, these need to be sorted out now and then. So there is no room there for delays. As I mentioned earlier, Honda stated that even a 15 minutes delay can bring to the business over £850,000 extra cost. So as you can see, it's a disruption, not just in terms of cost, but also supply chain process is not compatible. So, I mean, at the end, yes, if we are still moving ahead with Brexit, the biggest challenge is to do something about the supply chain process. I'm not sure how this is going to work.
I bet you're fun at parties. All right, where to next then? So we've now looked at just in time. What's the next point that we should be looking at?
Well, the next point, this brings us to stockpiling.
Yes, now that's
big.
So this is where you make your money, I suppose. Is it? Well, not stockpiling, but by offering, by controlling and sort of saying, here is space that is available.
Yeah.
Would that not take the edge off the just-in-time industry if we can stockpile the components that are needed for the motor industry? Is that a way around it? Because obviously at some stage, so the motor industry have done the just-in-time model so that on the production lines, the suppliers turn up just in time with 100 blue carpets or whatever. But those carpets will probably be manufactured prior to that anyway, and they'll be sitting in a warehouse and they're going to be called off. Is then the warehousing that you supply as a company the thing that takes the pain away? Yeah,
I mean, what it does, it will help. It will definitely help that. In fact, I mean, what's happening is not just, we've been talking about cars at the moment, but same applies, apart cars, it's the temperature controlled, which is still part of the just-in-time, As you can see, a lot of businesses are stockpiling, even for, temperature control items, which is almost a contradiction. It's a contradiction because in reality, you should not stockpile for this type of items. This is both automotive, chilled. These are a type of industries which need to move the parts very quickly in and out. What you're saying is at the moment it's going to work. I mean, we're still, businesses are so concerned that they, overstep in that. So they actually say, no, regardless, we want to make sure, we want to have some food there, we want to have some parts, sitting there, even if it's going to create, in my respect, I don't think it's the way it should be working, but it's just like a cushion. Actually, they should have to really buffer potential customers' delays. And, answering your question earlier, yes, Logistics Compare will help that. We help these customers which still need space, because this is not going away. This is not going away very quickly.
Is the capacity there? Is the space available? Or is it slowly but surely now reaching into short supply? Are we heading towards, we've got a bit of a problem here. We'd like to stockpile, but there's nowhere to do it.
There is an issue there. You're right. The warehousing industry is suffering about, what you call space availability. But the space availability, it's not an issue just due to Brexit. It was even before that. And now with Brexit, and also the Amazon, taking over quite a lot of space in the warehouses, the space in the UK is suffering at the moment, to be honest.
And for companies that are looking for space, are they seeing an increase in pricing now? Are people profiteering on the back of that?
A bit, yes. We have seen an increase, at least the 10-15% on cost. Prices are going up a bit. They are going up because, there is a lot of competition, I should say. And at the moment, example, I'm looking for chilled space myself, because even myself, I can't find it.
Well, it's not going to be in here, is it?
No,
because it's pretty hot in here.
But yes, it's a very good point. Find the space. It depends also which industries as well, Let's have it clear. The chilled area at the moment comes a premium, absolutely a premium. It's where you can see also the highest cost are there. But because, there is just shortage of space, especially in that particular area. But as I mentioned earlier, it's not the only one stockpiling. We do have also automotive stockpiling. And pharmaceutical, not to forget pharmaceutical, because the government is actually, this comes even from the government, it's not even come from companies. Come from the government asking companies to stockpile at least, originally was for at least 2 weeks from the first Brexit milestone, 29th of March, and now it's about 6 months. So there are quite few industries which normally they would not stockpile. It's not type of industries to stockpile. But now they are so concerned that, they actually want to get some space.
I must ask, when somebody comes to your website, which we'll look at in a few moments' time, but when somebody comes to your website, what's the process that they go through? Do they tell you what do you do? Do you put them in touch with somebody, or do they come and they say, look, I need 10,000 square meters of warehousing space. It has to be chilled. Find it for me. What do they do?
Oh, it's much easier than that. Much easier than that. Customers, they got the actual feasibility, the opportunity there to go just straight on the portal and just search the area where they're looking for space, enter their specification in terms of space, and then they will get a selection of warehousing cost a touch of a button, so instantly.
Well, let's just have a look at the website if we can here, and we can actually have a look at the website. There we go. So, warehouse space to offer and need a warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very, very clear website that you can pop into. And what I liked about the website when you go through it, it does give a real understanding about what people are looking for. It's down to quoting prices. It explains that to you, where the warehousing is and where the availability is. It seems that the Midlands to the south is where the majority of the warehousing is actually needed. And if people are finding that there are, and some big companies you work with as well, if people are going to the website and they feel to themselves that they just need a little bit more advice, can they talk to you directly? And will you talk them through the process? In fact, will you take their problem and sort it out for them?
Oh, I've done this in and out. And absolutely right. I mean, that is where probably I would say is the USP as well of my business, because they know they can talk to somebody who understands the logistics and can find the solutions for them. We had actually different, I would say, cases where actually, this is a very interesting one, where we had an Australian customer looking for setting up a business here in the UK. So, and he clearly needed some help. He actually came straight to me and said, Serafina, please help me to find space. And one of the biggest challenges is that he had a very small storage requirement, just a few pallets. And the biggest challenge he was facing was that, whenever he was talking to providers, they wanted just long-term commitment, bigger space requirements. So he could not find a way out. And this is where I found a way to help him out. And, I proposed a solution for them as well.
The website address is, what's the website address?
Well, logisticcompare.com.
There it is. And so just go onto the site. Once again, you'll find out more about what they do. Just go back up to the top. That's what you're looking for. And I think that is so clear. Direct link to your customer, low long-term commitment, increased visibility and lower costs. That will list the space that's available there. So if you do have warehousing space that is currently available, then it can be shown here. If, on the other hand, you are somebody who is looking for warehousing space, instant warehousing options, direct interaction with the providers. So you're put in touch. This is a fantastic idea. It's a bit like a dating website for warehousing. Secure space with one click. If you know you need it, you've been looking for it, and you want to make certain you've got it, one click, and you'll secure it, and you can find space very quickly. So find, book, and manage your space online. Simply go to www.logisticcompare.com. It's as straightforward and as simple and as easy as that. A great way. Listen, I'm going to ask Serafina in just a few moments' time what the key tips are to prepare your logistics for Brexit. They're the main things. Just some advice that she's going to give you. Don't forget as well, we've also got your key takeaways at the end. So that'll tell you more about the business. It'll also tell you more about what she offers as a service to customers just like you. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company as always. Can we just remind you that we'd love you to be on the program. There's a number of different offerings that we have from our website. If you go to our website, you'll be able to find out more. One thing we do appreciate you all doing is downloading the program on a regular business. Of course, the program is available on Blueberry. It's available on Stitcher. It's available on iTunes. Now, iTunes, of course, the biggest podcasting platform in the world. You'll find the program there. Thousands of you are downloading the program on an ongoing basis. For that, we say thank you very much indeed. If you'd like to find out, I'm just wondering if we can do this, if you'd like to find out how you can leave a recommendation, we'd really appreciate you do that. Just go along and look in your account, go into your iTunes account. You'll find Business Connections Live in there. Once you're in there, you'll find a tab that says leave a review. Leave the review about the program. Say how much you find the program useful to your organization or to your business. Once you've done that, then that will recommend it onto other people and it will grow the audience on iTunes. And we appreciate if you leave a 5-star review as well. So once again, thank you very much for doing that. Don't forget, any of the programs, see if you have any comments on anything you've seen. If you agree with everything that's been said, if you disagree with everything that's been said, leave a comment. We really appreciate your feedback on the program as well. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have your company as always. My guest is Serafina Valenti, and she's the founder and managing director of Logist Compare. So, we've covered a heck of a lot today.
Yeah.
The tips to prepare your logistics for Brexit.
It's the same in the takeaways, by the way.
Yeah, is that the key takeaways?
Yes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All right then. So well, let's look at some of the other sectors then. We've looked at. We'll just kind of do a quick summary. We've seen how Brexit can impact our logistics and delay our product deliveries. We've learned how warehousing marketplaces facilitate stockpiling and inventory, and we've had an insight into tariff implications. When you talk to the people who are on the phone to you, going outside of industry sectors, what's their biggest concern, your customers on the phone, when they talk to you? What are the issues that they are having at the moment?
Well, one of the issues, of course, it's about tariffs, costs, so in terms of customs declarations, so the impact that, how they're going to sort it out, these customs declarations, especially if there are new businesses coming on board, which they don't have already the infrastructure, they don't know where to go, how to start all this.
Is there anything that they can do now to prepare themselves for that? Is there any government-based scheme? Are there any certifications that they can get that will make it easier for them when it comes to doing these custom declarations?
Well, when it comes to customs declaration, the best thing I would say they should really try to, first of all, they can get in place either an import agent or a consultant or even an internal resource which can help them to navigate through the tariffs, because one of the biggest issues for sure is going to be the tariff. And there are cases where they'll be able even to reduce the tariffs to zero if you know the how to do it. So first of all, what I will say, make sure you got the right people, the right resources in place, customs resources in place.
Who do you talk to then? Who are the right people to be talking to?
Well, that's what I mentioned earlier, would be probably import agents. That's how I would recommend to consider import agents, but even internal resources in terms of customs resources. I mean, many companies have been working with. We used to work with an internal customs dedicated person. This person would be doing all the declarations, would be doing all the, all the declarations, set up the deferment accounts, everything themselves. So these are an internal resource which companies can easily hire. Yeah. So that would be number one. Number two, yes, as we are moving more and more towards Brexit, as I mentioned earlier, you can imagine customs will be inundated with customs declarations. So again, try to bring the process more in-house instead of leaving to outsiders, because they are so inundated there could be delays just because they don't have time to do it, to process all these documents. the other point which I think is very important is to become AEO.
AEO.
Which stands for Authorized Economic Operator.
Right.
So what it does, what is it? It's a certification which what it does is just state to customs that as a company you have been consistently compliant with their regulations. And what is the payback? The payback is that they allow your goods to move easier through the borders.
Is that a long process to get that?
It can be, yeah. It can take.
Should
up to
companies
6
who are going to be in a situation, should they have been applying for it last year?
Ideally, yeah, or even before. But yeah, it can take up to 6 months to be compliant, to do all this. But I mean, in the UK, in truth, only 0.5% of the companies are certified, compared with Germany, which is 10 times more.
Yes.
It's quite, you can see the issue. But especially now, as we move more towards Brexit, I think that is something, it should be a takeaway which companies should think about it. Because it can really help the movement of the goods to come easy, to facilitate the movement of the goods in.
Last question for you, before you give our key takeaways. We've talked a lot about the UK situation. We've talked about the AEOs, that would be a good thing to have, the tailbacks, the lack of staff, the lack of warehousing, how we're just not ready for it. If it does happen, what about our continental friends, the other side of the channel? Are they prepared for it? Because if there's an increase in paperwork on our side, surely there's going to be an increase in paperwork and issues on their side. Have they prepared for it?
That's a good question. It's really a good question. I'm sure also that side, still there is a lot to be done. It's not just our side. In fact, I mean, when we are talking about disruption, I think disruption will count for both sides. I mean, we were recently went to an e-commerce show in Manchester, and I had a client which he is really concerned from abroad, which actually was concerned, was a meat producer. And he was concerned about, the implications with, transit permits, because he said before we used to use this CMR, which very quickly remove the goods in and out, and now it's also complicated. So, and there is so much, because especially regardless if you are located here in the UK or somewhere else abroad, if you are a small company, there's going to be an impact, I think, to your business. It will have an impact.
Is there one company in your mind's eye that you think have really got it right at the moment? Don't say that. Well, you can if you want, but no. Is there one company that's got it right and they're really on the button at the moment, do you think?
Maybe one or two.
Maybe one or two are out
which
there.
I can think of, but of course I'm not going to say names.
No, of course you're not, because then you'd have to kill me. And we don't want to do that. Listen, I hope you found today's program interesting. I mean, it's... The whole idea of this is not the Carl's doom and despondency. That is something that we're not trying to do. I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to lift the veil away from the mystery that is surrounding some of this. We hear politicians, we hear political commentators, we hear industrial commentators on the TV and the radio talking about the implications. And sometimes we never get the background to it. We don't understand what is going on. We don't truly understand what we mean when we say stockpiling. We don't understand the implications for just-in-time industries and the like. So today, hopefully, what we've done is we've lifted that veil of secrecy, perhaps, uncertainty. We've lifted a little bit and we'll give you a glimpse of what's just behind the curtain. Don't forget, if you are an organisation and you feel that you should be bringing product into the UK, or you need to be, you need warehousing space and you would need that to be available, and you're thinking to yourself, well, who do I turn to? I know I need more, but I don't know where to go, then all I can suggest is go to this website and find out there. Go online and all your problems will be resolved simply by going on there. And if you have any questions at all, then you can always pick the phone up and talk to Serafina, and because she is an angel, a valuable one, and she will resolve and sort your issues out for you, because that's what she does. You've heard today how knowledgeable she is on this topic. And maybe the other thing too is that if you're an organisation and you feel that you are floundering at the moment and you don't know which way to move forward, then Serafina once again can point you in the right direction. As always, we ask our guests to give us the key takeaways. We ask you to look straight down camera over here. Number 4, say who you are and where you're from, and the key tips and the key takeaways from today's program. The airways are yours.
Hi, I'm Serafina. I'm the founder of Logistic Compare. So the key tips, or the key takeaways, I should say, of today is, first of all, make sure you do have either an import agent, a consultant, or an internal resource to help you navigate through the tariffs, which very likely is going to hit many different businesses. 2, make sure you bring as much as possible declarations or customs declarations in-house, because customs are very likely going to be inundated with paperwork, and therefore will be further delays. Number 3, become AEO certified, which will help you to bring the goods easier through customs. And finally, if you are concerned about delivering the goods on time to your customer, you want to stockpiling, make sure you just find the right marketplaces which can really help you to do this much faster and cost effectively. One of those is Logistic Compare, where you can just enter your requirements and you'll be able to get in touch directly with the providers and get warehousing options at cost at the touch of a button.
Fantastic. And if you go to the website as well and just have a quick look at our screen, this is the page for the program for today's show. It gives you the key takeaways. And once again, at the bottom of the page, customs support, bring customs declarations in-house, become a certified authorized economic operator, and stockpile your inventory. All the information the notes on the program are all covered there. Also, you will find all of Serafina's contact details as well, and you can follow her on Twitter too. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Absolutely brilliant.
It's getting a bit warm in here now, isn't it? It's getting a bit warm. So once again, thank you very much for joining us. Coming up on future programs, Susan Armstrong. She's a speaker and author. Fantastic program she did last time. She's going to be coming back on the program in the near future. David Martin from Ether Solutions. Penny Haslam, the award-winning inspirational speaker, back on the program soon. Warren Knight, professional speaker, on his upcoming book. And in fact, we've got a whole load of other guests coming along in the near future. Listen, have yourself a fantastic week. Till we do it all again next week, thank you very much indeed for watching Business Connections Live. Till next week, it's bye for now. Bye-bye.